Listen, I am subscribed to one creator on Patreon, and it's the Riley Black Project.
Thank
You guys are the only ones.
We just celebrated 25,000 downloads.
Yeah,
all time.
All time.
Killer, dude.
I don't
Killer.
know. Yeah.
It's amazing. Bam. Oh my God, I hate when I'm full screen, dude. This sucks. Stop putting me on full screen. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Laser Source Podcast, the number one podcast. If you want to meet some really cool people that do what I do for a living, today we have the cast of the Riley Black Project in the Laser Everything studio, which is super weird. I was just on their show not too long ago, guys. What was it, like a month maybe?
Oh, yeah.
You're in our world now. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Before I just so right away, I never I get to the small talk after the big punch. And my big punch for you guys right off the back is, where the heck does the Riley Black Project come from? What's that name? What is the project? And because neither of you are named Riley, so who's Riley? What's the story? What's the story there?
So the Riley Black Project. So my business name is Riley Black Design. So I started with, I don't know, a whole bunch of shit. But the name Riley Black comes from, Riley is my first son's middle name, and then Black is my favorite color. Nice. So that's where my business name came from. And then when we were trying to think of a podcast name, I wanted to incorporate that to make sure that the brand, the brand and the business was included. And then the Riley Black Project is kind of where that came from. Yeah.
And fast forward way from a long time ago to right now, you guys have 1 billion episodes. What episode number are you on now?
Oh my gosh, 90 something?
90. I am in the middle of editing 91, which will be out on Friday for Patreon and Monday for everybody else. And then we're recording 92 tomorrow.
I'm gonna just, even before we get on with the interview, listen, I am subscribed to one creator on Patreon, and it's the Riley Black Project. You guys are the only ones. For real. You guys are the only one. And I don't know what your back end numbers look like, because you're not just on YouTube. You have a podcast. You guys are everywhere. You can listen to podcasts.
We started in March, and we were strictly just a podcast, and then we added YouTube in August once we got our studio finished. Yeah,
you're still pretty fresh on YouTube.
Yeah.
We need to fix that, because I just there's a huge audience out there. Our numbers on YouTube are fairly good, and when I go over to your YouTube channel, because that's where I live on YouTube. There's 16 views, 25. There's a big one 57. I'm sure it's way better on the podcast back end.
Yeah. We just celebrated 25,000 downloads.
Yeah, all time.
All time.
Killer, dude.
I don't
Killer.
know. Yeah, a little bit.
That blows my audio back end out of the water, which is
nice.
So you know what I mean? So you guys were an audio podcast first. We're kind of YouTube first over here. So don't go there, guys. I mean, go there, but don't go there and then see this video has 16 views. Yeah, sure. It's 1,600 on Podbean or wherever they're hosting it. It's amazing. And so just describe to everybody listening right now, because these people, the people that are here right now, these are the people that froth at the mouth for podcasts.
Right. Yeah.
What is kind of the format? Who do you bring on? What kind of questions are you asking them? How's that go?
So our podcast so at first we started just laser topics, and then it kind of morphed into interviewing other laser owners, small and big, and we really just asked them their background. We want them to go as far back as they want to, because when you get a laser, that's usually not your first place of being creative. So we like to know all that. We like to know their struggles, their wins, and talk about their goals. One question we ask every episode is, what is some advice that you give to a new or struggling laser owner? Because that's, a lot of the people who are listening are newer struggling laser owners. And so they like to hear, the people who may sound seasoned or whatever on the podcast of, what lessons they learned and stuff. So, we had Danny with Eon. We had him on early on. We had Jason with Lightburn. Who else? Yeah, Emily. She's been on a few times. Hey,
yeah. Miranda's in chat right now. She said there's a lot of familiar faces over at the Riley Black Project to check out and listen.
Also, too, a lot of people that are in the industry kind of work in a vacuum. You feel like you're the only one going through these problems, and we feel like them hearing other people's struggles, like, oh, I'm not the only one.
Right.
So it builds a sense of community.
Yeah.
Especially when you guys have smaller people on. We found that like when we have just like viewers on the show over here at Laser Source, it's like people really like that because they're like, hey, like they identify with that
more
person,
relatable.
You know what I mean?
Because we don't really have people who are doing $10,000-$20,000 months. Like those are great, but we also have the people who are like, oh, this is really just my side gig. And they're only pulling in extra, and that's just like
they're up to their knees in the shit like right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel that's like really powerful too. That's really powerful too.
We try to get anybody who wants to talk to us, we'll have them on.
Yeah, pretty much. Totally. And I love that. We're trying to do something similar over here, but the way you guys do it, I love and especially the video version of the podcast, I feel like is especially like charming just because of the way you guys have the studio set up and you're sitting there at the end of the table. It's like I felt like so warm and greeted when I came on the show because you guys are just like chilling, you know what I mean? You're just like chilling at your desk in your studio. Super laid back. I was dropping F-bombs. You think I swear a lot on Laser Source? Like I was over there like just fucking up their whole studio.
I love it.
It was really great. So so we have that.
Yes.
Homework, guys. First thing, just right out of the gate. We're only 6 minutes into the Laser Source podcast today.
Yeah.
Just the links in the description. Go subscribe right now and throw them like $5 a month on Patreon. They deserve it.
Yes.
When you're done here, I'm sure you guys that are watching live are caught up. You can go back and catch up on the entire backlog of Riley Black Project podcast episodes because there are so many. But there's more to you guys than just the podcast. So what else do you do?
Fucking everything. So
I'm the straight man. I have a regular, not really.
So he
not
still
really
has
9
a real
to 5,
job.
Well,
what's that? Job, but whatever.
Yeah, not a 9 to 5, but I still have a job, and I edit this podcast. I'm the video man. I have a video background.
Yeah.
So I kind of threw out the idea. Hey, have you heard of any podcasts? You want to start one?
Yeah.
So this was like my idea, but she pretty much carries the show because you're the one.
I do all the scheduling. Right. I get the guests.
Well, and she works up with lasers. I don't.
Right.
I'm getting my feet wet now.
Yeah.
So
I've just been teaching him actually how to do the rotary.
Yep.
That sucks. Good luck. Wear a helmet.
That's a challenge in itself.
Wear a helmet. I started making. So I first just started selling like laser products, and then that morphed into me selling laser files on Etsy.
Yeah.
And then I started selling what's called Keychain Thingies. There's these little plastic clips that you use instead of jump rings on keychains. And they're life-changing if you've ever done keychains, especially if you've ever done a bulk order of keychains. Jump rings suck. So I started selling those because they were hard to find. I realized they were hard to find and other people wanted them. So I started that. And so that's, it's RileyBlackDesigns.com, but it's also KeychainThingies.com.
Okay.
And just a bunch of keychain
thingies. Can we pull up some keychain thingies? Boys, I want to take a look at these. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So Keychain Thingies.
So Keychain Thingies. That was my first trademark that I filed for was Keychain Thingies.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll actually be registered here soon. And then the podcast we started after that. And then after that was Silhouette for Laser. So I made a course that teaches people how to make their own laser designs using Silhouette Studio. So
we don't have people on the show very often that are in the business of designing artwork for lasers rather than trying to push finished projects.
Right.
What insight can you give into that? Is there because I know that there's people, I get a lot of questions about that specifically, where to buy it, how to make it, like what are there like rules about like how to price things on that? And it's hard. Yeah. I don't have the answers. So what kind of like looking glass into that can you provide to people?
Well, so I have a vinyl. I started with the vinyl cutter Silhouette, and so when I found out about lasers, what got me to make that jump into like this scary machinery was the fact that I could still use my same software, Silhouette Studios, to create my designs, because like I like to make my own stuff. So even when I was making t-shirts, I didn't want to buy someone else's design, because there's usually something like, oh, I don't like that font, or I wanted to tweak this or that. So I didn't want to spend $4 or $5 on someone else's file and then still have to make changes to it. So I just wanted to make my own. So I kind of just taught myself how to do it in Silhouette. And then with the laser designs, it was very similar, but there was some there's just some tweaks that you have to make in order to make, going from vinyl to a laser file, like engraving stuff, or doing like a reverse engrave where you want to engrave really the background and knock out like the wording or some kind of graphic or shape. So really, I mean, the course just covers things like, one, just where the tools are and how they work. And then I go over like basics like welding fonts or welding two shapes together, or what else? Subtracting, like if you want a pattern to be in a fancy shape, like someone wanted a pattern that was in the shape of a watch band so that they could engrave on the watch band but not have like all this excess. And then I walk through a bunch of different projects like keychains, cake toppers, signs, how to make some jigs, that kind of stuff. And then I also cover how I ended up selling them on Etsy. Not that like my way is like the right way, but just the way that I found was successful for me, and how I price them, what my listing descriptions are, that kind of stuff. So I actually just hit 10,000 sales on Etsy too. So that was exciting.
Yeah, I'm already stoked that you guys came on today, because I didn't know about this until literally just now. So that's like super exciting. So where do people, is this like a thing you sign up for, or like a thing you buy, or like how do you?
It's an online course, and it's silhouetteforlasers.com.
Okay, so
that's where you can sign up. It gives you kind of like a little bit of a rundown of what you can expect. And I mean, people can message me and see if it's the right fit for them. I've had anywhere from like beginners in Silhouette who are choosing that software because they don't already have one, or maybe switching, maybe they had a Cricut before, and Cricut uses what's called Design Space, but Design Space is not compatible with lasers because you can't export as SVG. So some people go from, Design Space to Silhouette. I've also had people who have 5 to 10 years experience with Silhouette and then still learn stuff because they're learning the laser side of it, how to use Silhouette to design stuff for their laser.
Yeah, there's 2 tiers.
Yeah, there's 2 tiers. So like tier 1 is just the course itself. It's a 5-week course, so they get 1 new module each week with several lessons in each module. And then tier 2, you get some bonuses like an exclusive Facebook group. You get a bundle of my best-selling designs, and then the bonus module of how to actually sell your files if you choose to do so. I mean, just learning how to do them yourself, even if you don't choose to sell them down the road, you'll save so much money, because I can't even imagine how much people spend on files if they have to buy a file every single time they want to make something. Yeah. And it's really hard to be unique if you're always buying someone else's file.
But still, files.
Yes.
And the ones that are cheap enough that you could purchase regularly without breaking the bank, like everybody owns them. Everybody has them already, and you see them. They pop up. Like once you start looking into that space and you're like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not making my own artwork. I'm just going to buy it. Once you start like peeking around that corner, like you're like, oh my God, I've seen that. Oh my God, I saw that like last week. Oh my God, I saw that one on a mug. You know what I mean? Right. They just start to like pop up. Yeah. So being able to do it yourself is really powerful. Yeah. Really powerful. And I've never heard of Silhouette, the software, before, but Beth Parsons is in chat here. She says 7 years and I still use Silhouette Business for designing my laser files. So it definitely works for people. So that's really cool. I don't actually have the link to this in the description. Kyle, can we add that while we're rolling live here? Because I want to make sure that link is available for people too. There we go. Just like popping out already. What's up, boys?
Question. Yeah. What's your guys' Facebook page, just so everybody knows?
So my main Facebook for like, I guess all things Riley Black is Riley Black Designs. Okay. And then we also have a group and a Facebook page for the podcast, which is the Riley Black Project.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And we have a couple other links for you guys down in the description too. Let me just double check and make sure what we have. So the YouTube is down there already. I've got the main Facebook group, and then again the Patreon, which we definitely want to to get people over to. What do people get for signing up for the Patreon to support the podcast itself?
So we have anywhere from our cheapest tier is $4, and that's basically just the early access. So you get the episode on Friday, and everyone else gets it on Monday.
Both audio and
audio
YouTube.
And YouTube, yeah.
So if you prefer to listen to it on audio because you're driving or whatever, we give you that option as well on Patreon.
And then we have a $6 level, and that's the same thing, but then you're on the shout out list. And we have monthly shout outs. And that
could be for your personal page or your business, however you want, but you get one shout out once a month.
Yep.
And then the $12 level, you get all of that plus a monthly file, which I didn't send out November's. I need to send out, maybe I sent out November. I definitely did not send out December yet, so I need to get on that. And then there's also the $25 level, and that's literally just just to, what do we call it? Show off. That's the show off level. So you're literally just giving us that extra as an extra bit of support. And I was surprised when we set that one up that there were several people who like leveled up immediately. So
when Kyle and I were setting up the LMA, I was like, man, maybe we should get rid of the $25 a month tier. Like, this is kind of dumb, And then we ended up including it anyway. And then we're like, oh my God, like 25% of our members on the LMA are signed up for like our ridiculousness tier. And I'm like, what the hell?
When we were talking about pricing, I was like, who's going to pay that much when they can just wait?
With the $12 one, because I told them, I was like, I feel like 4 and 6 is not enough. And I told them, I was like, if we don't give them that option, they definitely won't sign up for it because they can't. I'm like, if no one signs up for the $12 level, who cares? And then almost every single one, like ours is like 80% the $12 level, and then like the rest of it is the sprinkling of the other tiers. But
and the beautiful thing about it too is that like I think it becomes really apparent that like people sign up because they actually I think over time it's occurred to me that people are less concerned with what they're getting and more concerned with just making sure the show keeps going.
Exactly. Perfect example of that was life got a little crazy at one point, and there had been several months where I hadn't sent out the free file to that tier. And I felt like a piece of shit, honestly, because I was like, these people are paying me and I promised these things and I want to like fulfill what, we promised is included. And I remember sending like an email and a couple posts and like apologizing profusely for like being way behind and like, why didn't anybody yell at me and whatever. And then they were all in the comments like, I hope this shows you that we really don't care so much about the free files. We're just, they're paying that because they want to support us. And I mean, it makes a huge difference. I mean, I know it's so cliche to say that like, when you support a small business, like you're literally like, you're helping us pay for groceries, you're helping us pay for our kids' swimming classes and, shit like that. Like, it's not for a Benz and whatever.
The Benz, dude, for real.
If someone wants to buy me.
I mean, I tell people all the time, like, Boyce and Kyle are here because of the LMA. You know, if there was no LMA, like there would be no Boyce and Kyle. And that's just kind of the bottom line. I mean, these people need to eat and do stuff too, you know, and it's like that's huge. It's huge for us. Sorry, Boyce, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say this too, guys. Don't forget, I was a supporter before I got hired. So I was paying $25 a month.
You paid me before I paid you.
But for me, it's like, what value do you get out of this? And that's the whole point of this. All the stuff we do is providing value. And so if someone says, hey, you know what? You have provided me $25 a month in value. Shit, I owe you. You know, like that's how I felt like it. Because when I was picking out what fiber laser to get, Alex's channel came up, laser everything, answered all my questions. I typed in a damn question. Here's the answer. It's just that simple. So when you look at your time as money, and if you go to a podcast that saves you a significant amount of time and pain and suffering, it really does bring it. You get that money back threefold. And then I just happen to be one of the guys that just said, fuck this, man. It's worth every dollar. Do it, you know?
Well, I mean, it was the same thing with the course because like, sure, everything I cover in the course, it's not like proprietary or anything like extraordinary. You can find all that, all that stuff on YouTube. And I did when I was learning. I had to, YouTube all of that. The one thing that I really push the most is that you don't know what you don't know. And so knowing the terminology to search for was one thing that I really struggled with. I was looking for, I think, what's called the knockout method. And I couldn't find it because I didn't know what to call it. And so when I'm searching, I'm calling it all these weird things, but then I couldn't figure out, I'm watching 5-10 minute videos and now I just wasted an hour of my time and I still don't know,
it's like when you like remember some of the words to a song, but you don't know the title. So you're like typing in like random snippets of lyrics and you're just hoping the song goes up. Totally.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that's what we hope to do is just save people time. And same with the, the laser files. Like if I've already created something that works for what you're looking for, yes, by all means, buy. And I buy files too, even though I can create them, why recreate the wheel if someone's already made something that is, exactly or super close.
Especially if it's like a vector of a literal wheel, like grab it. You don't need to make
I haven't created any of those yet.
the laser file creation stuff, I don't want to undersell the power behind that, especially self-5. The marketplace, the Laser Everything marketplace is opening soon. We have an entire category for laser files. And right now it's empty. There isn't anybody selling laser files on the Laser Everything marketplace.
I think there's two.
Okay, there's two now.
Two files. Not two people. I think there's two files.
Yeah. So
open market on that one.
Well, I got 190 something.
Throw them up, dude. Like seriously, we're gonna be opening it soonish. I was just looking. We had a list of like everything we needed to finish to open the marketplace, and they're all complete except for like two random ones in the middle. Like we're so close to opening, and there's a lot of categories that like just have nothing in them. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong. We have like 40 or 50
there's hundreds and hundreds of listings,
dozens of fiber lasers and CO2 lasers and things you can buy, but like the small, we tried to make it so that like everyday people could also participate in this economy, not just like big laser corporations that are selling massive $10,000 machines. And I'm not giving dates, Miranda. Miranda's yelling at me for giving dates. I'm not giving dates. I haven't given a date. I'm just saying soon. It's a trademark. TM.
Commit.
Soon. Yeah, soon. But there's right now one of the categories that's lacking is laser files. If you guys want to make some bank on the side, go buy the Silhouette course and then go sign up for the Laser Everything Marketplace and sell those files because people love buying files. People love buying files, and they're inexpensive and they're easy to move, and you don't have to ship anything.
Right.
Like literally you just like up the file.
It's so nice when it like it's one of the things that I need to like find more time to do just because it's truly passive income. Once there is a lot more that goes into it that people don't think about. So, they'll think, it's just, they just made this one file and they just had to make it once. And now they're making all this money selling it over and over again. The making and listing one file, like it does suck. It's one of my least favorite things to do because testing, because like I've been doing laser files I think for 4 years now, And there's still things that like, oh, I think that sizing is going to be great. Or, oh, I don't think there's any issue with that. And then I'll go cut it. And then all of a sudden there's like some loose piece. And I'm like, didn't think that part through. So like, you have to like, I usually draw a lot of my stuff in Procreate on the iPad. And then I have to bring that in, trace it, add whatever elements and cut lines I want to, and then test it. And then once you test it, then you either, have to put it all together, and then you have to take pictures, then you have to add the listing. The listing sucks. So it's a lot of work on the front end, but as soon as you finish that part, now anything you make beyond that is just passive income. Some of my best-selling files have made me thousands of dollars on their own. So like you get that one good file and you're set, and you don't have to ship anything unless you get that one person that buys it.
You got to think about the long game too, right? Like you get like one of those files done and you're like, man, that sucked. And you make a sale a week or a sale every 2 weeks, and you're like, it's $4. But when you finish your 100th file, you know what I mean? Now it's like $400 a week or every 2 weeks, and that's like your power bill, and you could stop and just never pay for your power again. That stuff rolls together really fast.
Yeah. So there was like, with the podcast and with my course and everything, there was a good, like 6 months, I think, where I didn't, at least, if not more, where I didn't add a new file at all. Yep. And like my worst selling month on Etsy made me anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. Yep. So, I mean, that's not, I can't complain about that at all. So yeah, I mean,
and probably more than half of that shit, you didn't even have to go to the post office.
It was all shit from before. It was exactly. Yeah, it was my Easter files from the year before. My, whatever. And
you didn't have to buy any shipping labels. Nobody got their stuff lost on their front porch or had their mail stolen. Nobody downloaded it and said, oh, my laser file was scratched on the corner. I want a refund. You don't have to. I'm sure there's a couple. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure there's people. There's always people, but I would wager significantly less. With digital.
Totally. So we actually just started selling physical products again, so that we can, because we're going towards the goal of getting him home and like working either with Riley Black stuff, with his own video and editing stuff. Yeah. And I refuse to sell on Etsy because it's just at least for physical products, because they just it has its own beast of things, and I'm just not ready for all that, because they think that we're Amazon. And they want the handmade thing, but they want the handmade thing to be made before they even buy it. So it's like they expect things right away. They don't understand any kind of shipping issues or delays. It started there.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. It definitely is. I got out of the game for a reason. You know what I mean? I'm so lucky that Miranda and I get to focus full time on the channel, because it's work. I mean, like, I'm busy now, but it's like a mental gymnastics kind of busy, less so like a hauling ass over the laser all day kind of busy.
Right. Exactly.
And I like that, but also like I like doing it because I want to, not because I feel like I have like the family's budget gun to my head. You know what I mean? So it's really stressful and it's really hard, and none of the things that you just described are helpful with that at all. So I admire you guys for turning around after setting up everything that you guys have accomplished, and like you're turning around and you're like back into the fire. Yeah. That's brave. That's ballsy for sure.
Yeah. Diana's in the laser room right now cutting shit for friends and family, making last second orders for fucking Christmas.
Yeah. Well, so like I will say that I was smart enough, at least when doing this again, I will say no to an order I don't want to do. So I focus mostly on tumblers, my lovely pie burn that I love so much. I do like keychains, cake toppers. I do a couple other like miscellaneous things, engrave like flasks and that kind of stuff. But I keep it to like the easier stuff, the less labor intensive. And if it is labor intensive, I'm trying to get better at pricing those, to include that, but I don't take many of those. And when I do, it's because like you're a friend or someone who I've been doing it for several years. So you kind of like grandfathered in. But even, like you said, going back into the fire, I'm at least being smart enough to be choosy with what jobs I'm accepting. I'm not just accepting everything, because if you do one of everything, there's no way to have any kind of production line. There's no way to have any kind of like flow to it. And, you're just kind of wasting your time, and time is money. So, I try to get...
I feel like that's really sage advice too. Not everyone can take it, but for the people that can, like, think about this, because I like when I started, like we had just moved to New York and we didn't have any money, and it was like, follow this crazy dream or like get a job now because we need to like live, and so like I just said yes to everybody all the time. I did it for like 3 years. I just never said no. I learned a lot. It was great backer for the channel. It was not great for making money. So you know what I'm saying? So like you guys aren't in a rush. You have time. No. You can slowly transition to like this full-time kind of thing. Because you've got that full-time job. That gig isn't going anywhere. You can keep it as long as you need to, knock on wood.
Hey, but if it goes away, like I'm also kind of like,
you can't push the pedal down. Yeah, if you need to, you guys are set up really well for that. And that's awesome too, but I feel like there's definitely people that are like, I'm a doctor. I've been a doctor for 30 years and I want to transition to doing this. I'd rather be at home. And it's like, okay, dude, like,
you're a doctor, you got some time. Think about it. You're a doctor, think about it.
Dude, I've met some crazy people. I've talked to doctors. I've talked to like electrical engineers, and
we had a lawyer on,
dentists. Dentists, lawyers, really crazy stuff.
There's been a lot of dental hygienists.
Postmen. Money's pretty powerful in the world, but I think being in control of your time is also extremely powerful. Even if you spend that time working.
Yeah, I'll never again work for someone else.
Oh yeah, me neither.
Owning my own business and doing all this, like it's really hard. Like there's some really hard days, and especially like when, this year I've had my best selling month ever, but I've also had my worst selling month ever this year. It's been so incredibly like extremely high highs and extremely low lows, but I'll take that in a second over working someone else's schedule, doing something else, doing someone else's goals and dreams, and hoping they give me a raise that I feel is enough, or that, I'm worthy of. And
you can work more hours for working for yourself than if you worked for somebody else. It's like, oh, you got to work a 12-hour day, or it's mandatory. Right. You got to work. You're like, oh.
But Emily's here. Emily says, we end up working nonstop, and that's true. But also, like, and we've had Michael, my old boss, on the show, and I used to work to make Michael money, and I only worked 40 hours a week, and I work like 80 now. But and I don't want to dox like Boyce or Kyle here, but they both make more than Miranda and I do. And but now I feel like I'm working for them a little bit, but with the roles switched, and that's like a really good feeling in a really weird way that I'm having difficulty describing, but like I feel like I'm earning their paychecks kind of in like a reversal of that role, and that's been like extremely motivating. And
the fact, like, we don't have any employees yet, but whenever we get one, the fact that we can, when we can support someone else's, like we can support our own household, but now we can support someone else's, and they're helping us and like in our dream. And if I ever was to work somewhere, it would be for something like that, to where like I'm working for either something that's fun, that I'm passionate about, or that I enjoy doing. That would be like my only exception if I ever did. Like when for a while I worked with Amanda at Cerulean Tide. She sells acrylic, and I helped her at her shop, and that was before I set up my Etsy page. And so it was like, yes, I was working for someone, but I was working for a friend, helping her business while also getting some money on the side while mine kind of, grew and whatever. And then as soon as my Etsy shop took off, and I did get sick, and then I basically just ended up not coming back. But it was because of that, because now my goals were, taking off, and I was able to do something on my own while, helping her in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, working for someone else, there's 0% chance of passive income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
0 fucking %.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. You'll work 16-hour days for yourself if it's an exponential growth potential.
Well, right. And like him, if he works harder, or if he works for the news. And so say he does all this extra stuff and makes this incredibly groundbreaking, package for the news, his paycheck doesn't change anything.
Right.
If we do something like that for our business, like, we put that into the course, we put that into, the files or the podcast. When we put more time and money into it, we get the benefit of it, not our supervisor or, whoever.
Now that we're having this conversation, I'm having realizations about Laser Everything. It's kind of weird. Like, it almost feels like an incubator, because Kyle and Boyce both get to collect a steady paycheck, but also while they're spending that time collecting the paycheck, they're literally working on their own businesses.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of cool. That's a little neat.
Yeah. I mean, you're helping, which is again similar to me helping Amanda. Like, it was working with acrylic, and in that like mind frame all day contributed to my success and whatever with the files. So like, it was mutually beneficial, where a lot of times when you work for something corporate, it's only beneficial to one, and then you get the paycheck as your benefit. But you're limited to what they want to do. The job that I left before we ended up moving from Colorado to Florida, they ended up they laid off 12 or 10, I don't remember. They laid off all but 2 people in my department. So it went from 12 to 2, I believe. And they expected us to do like not all 12 positions, but quite a few more.
It's called do more with less.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And then my supervisor, which was the reason I was staying that long, because she was so amazing and she actually did value what I brought to the company. Then my bosses were in Texas, and so we were kind of like the redheaded stepchildren in another state that kind of got forgotten with things. And then it came around to raise time, and mind you, again, they had just laid off most of my department, and I busted my ass for them for a year, and then came to raise time and I got nothing. And I was like, oh, but you got to keep your job. Yeah, and they did shit like that. They're like,
number one benefit, right?
You have your job. We didn't lay you off, but we also didn't have money to give you a raise. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you 0% raise, Crystal, because I got you
kind of back right down, right? Easy.
Raise, Crystal. I'm going to give you, if that's what I'm worth.
Crystal's like, cool.
Yep, there was a lot of scrolling. There was a lot of like,
bare minimum.
I did enough so that I didn't get fired, and if I did get fired, I was like, all right.
Have you heard of Flappy Bird?
So that was my realization, that I was like, okay, like you can work your ass off for the wrong company and it not do anything for you. And I'm like, I'd rather work my ass off for myself, and maybe I'll still be struggling, maybe not, but I'm doing it's for me and my family, not for them and their families. Because I'm pretty sure they damn near got a raise. They got something. They got more than I got. So,
so like I said, you don't mind working more hours for yourself.
Yep.
You work a 16-hour day. It's like working 8 hours for somebody
normal
else.
Day.
Right.
Normal day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, as long as you're part of the fucking team, you get it.
Right.
Yes.
You're not a subordinate that if you don't do what I say to the T, you're out of here, asshole.
Exactly.
Like you need to have like a co-op almost, where you feel like you're part of this thing.
Right.
That's how I feel about this, where I feel like I contribute and this thing keeps growing.
Right.
I feel like I've earned my money, that in that way.
Right. You almost have to have like a vested interest in it so that if it grows, you feel like it's your project, not somebody else's.
Right.
Well, like a ton of the, like, just for example, since we're talking about a ton of the like social media content that Boyce puts up is Boyce doing work for his business too. Right. You know what I mean? So he's like making double time over here, you know, which is like, that's dope, dude. I love that. That's sick. Wow. Yeah.
Well, and then like, I mean, now that we have kids too, it's a motivation for them as well. Like you can do whatever you want. I mean, I went to college for 11 years for a degree that I'm not using. Like, yeah, I don't recommend it, honestly. I probably shouldn't have gone, but whatever. By the time I was in it, like I needed to finish it for me, just to have that piece of paper and to be something that I saw, you know, to completion. But by the time, I mean, I think I had 2 years left and I already knew that wasn't what I wanted to do if I had any choice. But I was so close to the end. I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, it'd be time wasted at this point if I did.
If you guys want to hear everything that's wrong with the modern educational system, go listen to my episode of the Riley Black Project, because we spend a solid 20 minutes talking about it. We did Spiral. It was a fun Spiral though.
It was good. I mean, it's informative, and that's the podcast. I mean, we start off with a basic outline of what we're going to ask, but the conversation goes everywhere sometimes.
It goes where it goes.
And we just have, it's literally like we tell people, when they first contact us or we contact them, it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's a phone call.
They get so nervous. And I'm like, I swear, it's like before it was a phone call, you know, when it was literally just podcast. But when it was just the audio, it was like, we're literally just talking about lasers on the phone. Mm-hmm. Like, I swear. Now we have video and, you know, it adds a different little element to it. But yeah, it's not scary because it's conversation, just laser talk.
Yep. Just laser. I mean, that's what we do here too. It's very, very, very low key. Maybe that's not a good thing, but I don't know. People seem to keep listening to it, so I'm not going to change it until people stop showing up. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you guys. What's next for your business? Like, what's your next? Like, you guys looking at some growth and you making some moves to expand to get him retired?
The next move is to. We haven't, man. So the easier move is to add the physical products and for me to jump on board and start making them. I have I edit this podcast and I have a video editing background.
Yeah.
So there is a move in talks of, you know, like expanding the brand into that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah. So the goals really, our top tier is, you know, him quitting, but then with him quitting, we not only lose, you know, the guaranteed paycheck, but then you also lose the insurance part, and the insurance is almost as much as he makes basically. So we kind of have to double that. And so now we're just kind of like trying to nurture all the things that we have at, like, you know, and just making all of them grow, you know, the focusing more on the design, so that, because that is truly like the one true passive income. And with the course too, you know, I put in an insane amount of work in the beginning to make, like, I think it's over 11 hours worth of content for the course. Yeah. And now when people buy that, it's just support as they need it. So again, that's also passive income. I do have plans for more additional kind of like mini courses. Like in January, I plan to finally release. I'm all over the place. We had the laser conference in August in Cali, and there I taught people how to make a laser LED sign with the LED lights on the inside. So not the ones like the neon ones. It was kind of like a backlighting. And so I showed them how to make that, and then I also want to make that an online course for those who either couldn't attend that conference, or for those people in the conference actually to have something for them to follow along themselves at home, instead of trying to take all the notes at the conference and then remember everything when they go back. So just a lot of stuff like that, just expanding my course offerings. expanding the physical products so that, that's something that he can do. Eventually, I'd love to get rid of them again and really only make them, as we need to test something or to show something as a tutorial or, one of our files or something like that. Because it's when you want to become scalable, it's really hard to become scalable with physical products unless you scale into like bulk or wholesale. Yeah. And I won't turn those down for sure, but I get bored if it's something that I'm doing over and over again.
Me too.
So if I have to do the same thing, 20, 50, 500 times, like, yeah, it's going to have to be for a good
that was the benefit of the job shop, is that we got them rarely. And when they did, they really helped out, but they didn't come through a lot. But when they did, it's just like, oh my God, it's like somebody coated my clothes in cement. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
exactly.
Yeah. Some people love that though. Some people are like all about that. Good for you guys, because you guys are probably the ones that are killing it right now. But
I got one more question for you guys. Like, if people want to meet you in person, do you guys have any plans to go to any conferences next year?
Yes, actually. So it hasn't been officially announced yet, but they've teased that it's going to be spring of 2023. So and in Dallas is when the laser conference, the next level laser conference. Yeah,
I might have to figure that out, man. I might want to go. I've never been to one of those yet, so I'd like to.
I was really surprised because I was a presenter, obviously at the one in California in August, and I completely underestimated how motivating it would be for me, because I'm the presenter. I've been doing this for a few years. Like, I'm trying to be one of the motivators. I didn't think that it would really like do the same for me, and just being around that many like-minded people who want to learn, grow, and kill it with their laser business was huge. And just, I mean, we were called laser celebrities, which it's insane to me that people meet you. So funny story. I ran into someone I had a layover in Dallas, and then, had the plane from Dallas to Sacramento. And I had just ran across, almost missing my plane. I ran across the Dallas airport, which if you've ever been there, it's nuts. And I almost missed my plane, got on the plane. I'm super stressed. Anxiety is really high. And I hear someone on the plane go, "Crystal?" And I'm like looking around, I went by myself. It was just me. And then it was like someone who apparently was like, she had like a fangirl moment. She's like, "Oh," and like finally made eye contact with someone. She's like, "Right here." And her name is Terry West. I love her. She's one of my students, and she's just been a huge supporter of mine. But it was funny because like she turned to her husband. She was like, she was nervous to talk to me. And I'm like, I am nobody,
Yeah.
I'm just a normal, but I'm a hot mess. Like, I'm anxious about the wind, so it was just crazy to see people who looked up to us and who just got so much from just that camaraderie. And like, it was a really good time. Cause we had the conference during the day, and then we called it like Lasers After Dark. Cause then we all went by the pool and like drank and talk, and it inevitably was almost always about laser stuff. Cause that's just what we all
do all day. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was great. I highly recommend one, or finding like a makerspace or some kind of like creative conference, because they really are great if you need that that boost and that like something to take you over, because you can't leave one of those events without learning something.
Yep. We went to the Awards and Personalization Expo in Las Vegas, and that was really fun. And I had a similar like situation where like people like recognized me, and I'm like, "Are you talking to me? Like what?" That was fun. I'm not much of an in-person presenter. I realized that I have a lot of confidence due to Adobe Premiere Pro. So when you take that away from me, I get very skittish. and annoyed. So I think like if we go back in the future, it'll probably be more like a news coverage kind of a thing for us. You know, I'll probably have like Kyle with the camera and we'll be like running and gunning and talking to like vendors and stuff. That's where I'm comfortable. That's what I like doing. Standing on a stage, I don't know if I'm a motivational speaker. You know what I mean?
I can't show
you. I'm ready to live stream for you right here, brother.
Yeah, you got it, dude. You got it. So, but yeah, I totally get that. And I 100% agree. It was very cool to like just be in the presence of like so many people that do something similar, at least in the same wheelhouse. Like you said, even like a maker show or something, you know, even tangentially related is incredible. So I totally get that for sure.
Yep. So we had just under 100, I think, people who attended. And I mean, I hope for more because and then it was like, you know, height of COVID and all of that. So it with all that, we still had a great turnout, and I can't wait to do it again. Like, again, I'm super anxious about like everything. And so when it comes down to it of like, what am I going to present and making sure I don't step on my feet or, you know, fall over my words and stuff. But it's worth the anxiety in the end because like you just see those light bulbs go off and it's worth it.
Yeah, and for this next one, I hope to come out there too and shoot some content so we can share with everybody else.
My sister, my sister was stupid enough to agree to watch our two kids for that time. So we're gonna
it's another wear a helmet situation. Maybe.
Yeah, yes, totally. Yep. Good luck is what I'm. Leave her plenty of alcohol to drink after they go to bed.
A desk to hide under, perhaps.
Right. They'll find you there. They know where my office is. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yep.
Well,
do you guys have who's a guest coming up next week you guys want to plug too?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So actually tomorrow, our guest, which will air next week, is my accountant, which again is something that we talked about, I think on yours too, Alex, was just finding someone to do the books for you if it's not something you're comfortable with or that you like doing. My degree is actually in finance. And so I knew that I could do it, but I didn't fucking want to. So 6 months would go by and I've done nothing. You know, I wasn't sending in quarterly taxes because I didn't know how, and I was scared I was going to do it wrong. So she's actually going to be in person tomorrow, and we're going to talk about like basically small business finance. I'll talk about, you know, why I hired them and why that money is so worth it that I spend, you know, every quarter, just to not have to worry about it and know that it's done and it's done right. So
it's one of those situations where like it's totally worth the money for you to invest your time in other things so that they can just deal with that.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, I think I spend something like 200, just over, I think 200 per quarter, and $200, you know, if I break that down into projects and how long the same thing would take me that they're doing for me to do it myself. And I could make way more than that spending my time, wiser on something else. So
double down on your own skill set. Shit.
Yeah. I think when we first started Monroe Laser Engraving, I was spending like $40 a month on our like bookkeepers, and they did like literally everything for us. Like if I spent or made money, I just forwarded like emails. You know what I mean? I just forwarded. I didn't do anything else. I just forwarded emails, and it was like $40 a month. And I don't think if I had done that, if we skipped that, because there was Miranda and I were talking like, oh my god, it's $40 a month. That was a lot of money when we were starting. You know what I mean? That was like scary. That was a big commitment. I was like, do you think we can afford this? Like, what are we going to do? If we didn't decide to go forward with that, I don't think our business would have been successful. I think we probably would have gone out of business. It's a really, really big deal, because if you if you have to like file, you know, sales tax return, like that's like 6 panic-stricken, sweaty hours in front of a computer for me, or like 15 minutes for Sean.
Yeah, it takes them no time.
Which is like just So
mine was $50.
Not something you want to miss. So is that tomorrow? You guys are recording tomorrow?
Yeah, so we record a week in advance. Usually we record tomorrow, and then you know, it'll air the following Friday for the paid members for Patreon, and then Monday for everyone else. And every once in a while, we do like a live Facebook in our group or on YouTube, and then sometimes we take it down and then put it back up that next week. But we want to get to the point where we do some just like bonus lives here and there. But for the most part, it's all pre-recorded, which is kind of nice. Every once in a while you need to get something out, or you go off on a 30-minute tangent about kids and you're like, okay, we talk about some other life stuff, but we want to keep it mostly lasers.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah. If you're going to talk about life, at least how the life is affecting the lasers,
right?
Or vice versa, right?
Of the stuff that we do, because I mean, we've had a lot of life happening lately, and it does directly then affect, what I'm able to do with my business, or missing deadlines, or all that. And we share all of that, like all the positive and the negatives, because every time I get that message or that email or the review, and they're like, I felt like I was alone until, even you, who has the same struggles as me. And, especially when you're starting out, you think that the struggles are unique to you because you're new. And that's not the case. Like, we all struggle as parents and moms and stuff, trying to balance it all. So, yeah.
And if you want to hear all about that, guys, because we're at 54 minutes, don't forget to go down into the description. We've got links to the YouTube channel if you want to watch the video version, which I recommend. I like watching video podcasts. But there's also links to their Facebook group, which you can catch those lives at, right? That's that's the place to go for that. And the Patreon. These guys seriously deserve your support, but don't take my word for it. Go
check it out. Help us to get to 1,000.
I have one, again, I mentioned this at the top of the show. If you're just joining us, I have one Patreon subscription that I pay every single month, and it's to these guys for the Riley Black Project.
We appreciate it.
It's been a few months. It's seriously, guys, like, for real. This is like a legit thing, and you need to go support it because they're doing important work. We also, midstream here while we're recording the podcast episode, I included links to RileyBlackDesigns.com because we didn't have that one up. So main website right there. And also SilhouetteAmerica.com. Is that right?
No.
Silhouette.
That's actually that's the software. Silhouette for lasers.
That's the software. Yeah, SilhouetteForLasers.com. All right, we'll add that one too right now. So you guys will be able to check that out.
There's a free Facebook group too. I help. Yes, it's also Silhouette for Lasers on Facebook. So I help anybody with Silhouette if it's something I know. If it's not something I know, I'll do my best to go find the answer. So you don't have to pay to get help. It does it gets you there a little bit quicker.
Yep. And don't skip on this laser file thing, guys. Whether you're using it for your own use for your business, or you want to use it as potentially some passive income, it's going to be extremely powerful for you either way. Business, we have some basic artwork tutorials on laser everything, but this sounds much more in depth. So make sure that you go check that out because that's going to be a really big deal. Is there anything else I'm not thinking of? I know before the show when we were just kind of hanging out, you mentioned an Instagram. What's the ad on that?
So that's at Riley Black Designs
and at
the Riley Black Project for the podcast. Yeah.
For the podcast. Okay. Yeah. So is there anything else that you guys want to throw out there while we are chilling?
No, I think that's it. We just wanted, you were on ours and we wanted to be on yours and just hang out with other laser
this is our first. This is our first.
Yeah, this is our first. The other,
because we're first time outside of the house. Wow, that's crazy.
We haven't been on a podcast.
We're always in not control, but we're always running the conversation. This is our first time actually being a guest on a podcast.
Yeah, where we answer the questions. Yeah.
So, well, I'm glad that it could be Laser Source because this. I mean, it's a decent show, but it's not like there's not a lot of pressure over here. So, you kind of like warm up. It's always weird being that's how I felt when I think you guys were my first time out of the house too.
Oh yeah.
When I came on to Riley Black. I don't think that
we popped each other's shirts.
Yeah, it's dope, dude. That's sick. We had the black and now we're adding the red. It's a beautiful thing. EmergencyStop.net. Oh my God, you guys would be great guests for Emergency Stop. Have you listened to Emergency Stop yet?
No,
but I will be.
Right?
We have a second podcast. It's called Emergency Stop. You can find it at emergencystop.net. The only rule is that we are not allowed to talk about work, and it's explicit.
It's messy.
Not safe for children. Yeah, it's you guys would enjoy it if you listen to it and you want to come on. I will put you guys at the top of the fucking list because I think you would have a blast. Anyway, that was a weird plug
up there. I mean, if you look at my Etsy shop, you'll see that there's a couple things that probably fit into that e-stop category.
Yeah, you can put Shafty boards.
My wife says no one should listen. It's disgusting.
Which means we should listen.
I am listening.
Yeah.
That's a great point to get me to listen.
Right, exactly.
You got me at it's disgusting.
Yeah, you had me at Pops Cherries. And the Boyce was holding his merch up because he always wants you to mention the merch. Go check out our merch, guys. We have a merch shop, slazereverything.net/merch. If you're listening to this, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. These guys know how big of a difference it makes. Makes a huge difference. You don't have to write a review. Just let us know what you want us to ask these two about on our e-stop episode. Just leave that in the review, and I will check it before we record with them and make sure that we cover those topics. I'm going to regret saying that. But the 5 stars, that's the important part. Throw that down for us, guys, because it really makes a huge difference. And if you're listening to the re-upload of this on YouTube, don't forget to smash the like button. Let everybody else know the content is good. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified the next time we upload an episode of the podcast. Did you have a closing statement, Crystal? Because it looked like you did for a second, for half a second.
No, I made something under my breath, but I don't remember what I just.
That's okay. That's like my whole life.
Merch.
Oh yeah, so we have merch too.
You have merch too. Plug it.
We have a merch store. We periodically have.
Well, it's on. We have some extra.
Yeah, some extra sizes
on the Riley Black Designs. But really, what goal we're trying to hit is that 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yep. So we're at 631.
Come on, guys. Yeah.
So if we could just get a couple subscribes.
We have 31 and change over here, so I'm sure we could donate some to you. Okay. Yeah, you guys can have like a couple thousand of those. Yeah, I don't see it.
I was just trying to get to 1K.
Yeah. No. I mean, 1/30th, right? That's like 1,000. I can share more than that. I'm a generous guy. We'll make sure that it happens. I'll take really good care of it. That's all I've got, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to my co-hosts for being here, dealing with my BS for yet another day. Kyle, Boyce, Jimmy, appreciate and love you guys. And shout out one last time, guys, the Riley Black Project. Do not miss it. You will seriously regret it if you do. But you probably won't because you won't know what you're missing. It's a beautiful gem. A diamond in the rough. All right, for real, I'm done talking. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.